Hey there, good morning Lego fans. Happy Wednesday to you. I hope your Wednesday is going well. Hump Day, we are halfway through, and you know what? If you've been listening, you know what Wednesday is. It is a wild card Wednesday. So I do want to say welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time joining in, thank you so much for joining me. I get to talk your ear off about Lego. My format has changed here in the new year. Monday, I talk to you about all the news and latest rumors. And then Wednesday, I talk to you about either a topic that is near and dear to my heart, or I do a set review. And I'm going to be alternating those Wednesdays. I used to do set reviews on Friday, but I have since adjusted here at the start of 2025. But having said all that, just thank you so much for joining me, whether you're a first-time listener again or whether you are a long-time listener. Today is going to be a good episode. I'm really excited, and it's because we're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, and not just Lego, but minifigs. Minifigs. Wonderful, beautiful, amazing minifigs. You know, they're turning 50 this year, with a bit of an asterisk, and I'll explain in a second. But I mean, just if you're tuning in on YouTube, you can see I've got the brick-built minifig with me, the classic minifig with the blue hat, red shirt, doing his little thing, and next to him I've got the wooden minifig. And you don't think of Lego without thinking of these bad boys, right? I mean, yeah, we wouldn't be anywhere without the brick. Like, that's how we create everything. But there's just something iconic, something nostalgic, something that's just very necessary about having minifigs in our collections. And so I'm going to talk your ear off just about the history of minifigs, where we're at, where we're going, and just everything under the sun, okay? I do want to note, I'm not going to be talking about mini dolls because I boycott those bad boys. I just don't think they're that great. I don't think they're quality. I don't think they stick together. I think they need some more development, even though they're like 15 years old now. I'm not going to talk micro scale figs, little micro figs. I am talking about the true minifigure. And so let's rewind back, shall we? The year is 1958, and Ole Kirk Christensen is working with his son, Gottfried. And, Gottfried is talking about a new patented machine to make the Lego brick, right? If you know anything about Lego, you read your history, you'll know that is the year they patented the Lego brick and went from basically being a wooden toy company to home of the brick that we know and we love today, right? And so Gottfried really oversees that initial production of Lego. And he does that for 20 years, actually a little bit more. But in that 20 years, it remains a building block system. You know, that's what it is. You get a set of bricks and you could build yourself a house. You could build yourself a boat. You could build yourself a car, and that was it. And there were no such thing as minifigs until the 70s. The 70s were an interesting time because in 1974, there was a really interesting set. It's set 200, which is not a perfect little number. And it is a Lego family. And it's an interesting set. You can actually Google images of this Lego family, and they are done in what's called the maxi size for a Lego family. And so it's like a brick-built family where you could put together these characters. They could actually, their hands were little round bricks that they could latch together, and the family could hold hands. It was pretty basic, but revolutionary for the time because it was the first semblance of people in Lego. And then we go forward one more year. The year is 1975. And I can almost picture this conversation, right? Gottfried, he's running Lego. They're doing fine. And he's talking to his designer. The designer is Jens Knudsen, right? He started back in Lego in 1968. So he had been with the company for about 10 years. And basically he approaches them about creating, I don't know if he called it a minifigure, but basically a Lego character, some type of person, if you will, character that would go with this building block system. And They do. They produce in 1975, 50 years ago this year, they produced the basic version of what is to become the modern day minifigure. And so these minifigures, because I can call them that, this is what we think of, not rudimentary, if you will. They were a 2 or 3 piece minifig, and they lacked legs and they lacked arms. Basically, you could think of it as a 1x2 brick with the top torso and a head on it. And these were the precursors to what we know today. They had little head pieces and things like that. In fact, you can even go look those up. There's a set, Lego set 364. It's a harbor set, and this is one of the first times you will see these style of minifigs in there. That came out back in 1975. So again, 50 years ago, right? So asterisk, the modern day minifig, as in a couple years from now. But think about that. 50 years ago, they were coming up with this little style. And the minifigure is OLD001. It's this little girl in this little red like hair. It's like a primitive looking Wendy from Wendy's Burgers, right? And her and some other characters like that are in this harbor set. And so Knudsen and Christensen, they work on this minifig for the next 3 years. They go through, from what I've read, like 50 different iterations of what the minifigure should look like. And so fast forward to 1978, what Lego technically considers the first year of the official minifigure, they release the Policeman. The most basic minifigure you could think of, but it's not changed. It's not changed. When you look at the 1978 Policeman, he doesn't look any different in its style, that style that we know and love, with the legs that move back and forth, the arms at the angle with the little hands. He came complete with, I believe, a white cap. It was minifigure number COP014S, the police officer. And he came in 3 different sets that year. I believe the first was set 600. It was a little police car, your classic 50 piece police car. You put that together, and then you had this little minifig for the first time ever that could, animate Lego and just bring a whole new realm to what Lego could be. And at that point, they put in their patent. The U.S. patent for the minifig that we all know and love happened December 18th, 1979. It was already in the works, though. Like I say, they had already produced the city minifigs. And in fact, in 1979, that's when you get your first space minifig. And I know we all know Benny. I know we all know what the space minifig looks like, right? With the iconic space logo and everything. Well, those first minifigs came out way back in the 70s. So those are 46 years old, which is it's just crazy to me. So yeah, 50 years for a prototype. That's when it started, 1975. And then fast forward 3 years, 1978. It's going to be interesting to see what Lego does in 3 years, because like I say, they will celebrate. Lego's very good at this. They will celebrate 50 years of a Lego minifig. I guarantee it. So that will be really, really interesting to see what they do. But then you fast forward. That minifig basically stays static in what it looks like for the next 20 years. There are minor changes to it. Like, for example, in 1989, so another decade, you get your first facial expressions. You get a frowny face in addition to the original happy face. Because originally, they're all just yellow heads and all just happy faces. One universal piece that went on every single minifig. But in 1989, they started doing facial expressions. In 1990, they made their first minifig that was not a human. They made a glow-in-the-dark ghost. It would actually fit over it. And so that was their first first venture into something that was not a minifig looking traditional character, which I think is interesting. And then you have to fast forward all the way to 2003, where they finally do something other than yellow. Like when you think of the classic minifig, right? If you're, like I say, if you're tuning on YouTube, you can see the brick built minifig next to me. Classic yellow hands, classic yellow head, right? It is what we know when we think of an atypical minifig. But in 2003, they're actually doing a basketball theme. And they did, for the first time, started using natural skin tones for the minifigs, which in and of itself is kind of incredible if you think about it. It took 25 years for Lego to go, you know what? I think we can do something other than yellow. That's interesting. Let's try it. Let's do skin colors. And they did. And it's interesting because you see that transformation then in not only, like I say, that basketball theme at the time, but also Star Wars and Harry Potter, that very first wave of Harry Potter, where you started seeing, characters that you knew and loved, your Luke Skywalker, your Obi-Wan Kenobis, your Harry and Hermione and Ron, all coming out in minifig style, but now they looked like them, right? And no matter what their skin color was, then they would match that. And I think that's really cool too. They did one other interesting thing here 4 years later in 2007, Star Wars, and you're going to hear Star Wars a lot with this because I think, honestly, if it weren't for Star Wars, the IP lines, especially Star Wars, I don't know if minifigs would be as popular as they are. If you had only had city or space or town or castle or pirate, they're all very generic, but it wasn't until you had something like Star Wars where you had like your Luke Skywalkers, your Obi-Wan Kenobis, your Darth Vaders that you really wanted to go and collect that minifig. And you would pay money for the set oftentimes just so you could get that minifig that went with the set. There are people out there that's why they buy the set. They don't buy it for the ship. They buy it for the minifig. And so fast forward, Lego innovates again. In 2007, Kit Fisto, love saying that name, right? Kit Fisto, it's a classic Star Wars character, classic Jedi. He's the first minifigure that they do where instead of using that classic ABS style plastic head, they do a rubberized head. And once they do that rubberized head, to me, it's like, sky's the limit, right? Which is kind of cool because then we knew they could do a lot of crazier characters. You have your Jabba's, your little guy that sits on Jabba's lap, those things that are made out of stuff other than your traditional ABS plastic. So I think that's interesting too. And then fast forward 2015, we get The Simpsons, and you can see The Simpsons in front of me if you're tuning in. These are not just hair pieces. They were an entire mold, and it's not unfounded to have a mold cost upwards of $500,000 for a mold. So it was very common to have your Lego head, right? But then you'd put a hat on it or a hair piece or something like that, and you could switch out and use different hair pieces to modify your minifig, give you something else. And then what they really did to make it different is they just did different printings. A lot cheaper that way. But in 2015, they went all out and they did an entirely different mold for all of the head prints for the Simpsons set. And you can see that not only with like the Simpsons, but they've done it with the Muppets and they've done it with Looney Tunes. And most recently, they've done it with a lot of the Disney characters as well. So I just think that's really, really cool. So your little journey and how it took 20 years to go from a brick to a minifig. It took another 20 years to go from a minifig to a minifig that actually looked like a character that we would know. And here we are 20 some odd years later after that, where we are finally getting into, when it comes to minifigs, it's crazy. Like, I want to just make sure in 2024, alone, there were 1,000 different styles of minifigures. That's crazy. Like for a long time, there was typically anywhere from 100 to 300 different styles of minifigs that were released in a typical year. Within the last, I don't know, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years, though, that number has been jacked way up, due in large part to the popularity of the minifig. And they've done minifig series, which have really made the minifig explode. People gun for these series, and where you can get some really rare minifigs or minifigs that you just wouldn't see anywhere else because they were like a nice little one-off. And you could put in your city and decorate minifigs with costumes like Banana Man or the Hot Dog Man. Things like that. And so we've gone from having like 200 or 300 different styles of minifigs to, like I say, last year alone, there were 1,000 recorded different minifigs listed in brickset.com. I just think that's crazy. In fact, minifigs in general, if you think about it, it's the overall number is absurd. I couldn't find an exact number. I do, if you look on Wikipedia, it'll tell you there's over 4 billion minifigs as of 2020. Well, I also read a fact that they make like 720 million minifigs every single year. And so unless that number's gone down, we're talking it's probably more like 5 billion or maybe even 6 billion. So I haven't seen an official statement from Lego in some years. But I know when they came out with an article from the minifig back when it was just 25 years old, they said they were close to like over 3 billion at that point. So I would guess, we're just going to put it, we're just billions of minifigs out there. And not just here on Earth. Did you know, fun fact, a minifig is like orbiting Jupiter? How crazy is that? It's called the Juno Deep Probe. They put a minifig in that Juno Deep Probe, and that probe they sent it to Jupiter. And I don't know if the probe actually crash lands on Jupiter. I know they do with some of those, but Lego's been to Jupiter. There has been a minifig that has gone to Jupiter, which I just think is really, really cool. So moving on from there, I know when people talk minifigs, they get the history out of the way, right? The next thing they always want to know is, what minifig is the most rare? What minifig is the most valuable? What is the coolest minifig in your set, right? Those are always the typical questions. And I will tell you, the answer varies because there are minifigs that have been mass produced that are worth a lot of money. There are minifigs that are limited release minifigs that are typically worth even more money. And then there are those really crazy, ultra rare minifigs that are usually a one-off or something that is like a celebration or a contest, right? We're talking ultra limited release. And those are usually what fetch top dollar. So from what I've seen, the most valuable minifig currently is a Boba Fett. And it's not a regular plastic Boba Fett like I have in front of me. It's a 14 karat gold Boba Fett. And it was released for a San Diego Comic-Con way back in 2010. They were doing a celebration of Star Wars, and they released, I believe it was 2 silver Boba Fetts and 1 gold Boba Fett. And it's hard to put a value on this, right? Because you can only determine really what it's worth once someone's willing to buy it. But estimates vary between $10,000 and $20,000. So if you see something go like that for 12 or 15, that would not be uncommon. But as far as I have seen, that Boba Fett is one of a kind. The silver Boba Fetts are only 2 of a kind, and those are the rarest. So they did that as a giveaway at San Diego Comic-Con. Close though to that are the C-3POs, and if you know anything about Lego, you may have seen these before, where it's called the gold C-3PO. Okay, and so in 2007. There was a 30th anniversary for the Star Wars franchise, and there was a prize, a collection where in random, like you would order your Lego, right? And then randomly, you could get one of 10,000 chrome gold C3POs. These chrome gold C3POs sell now for like a couple $1,000. They came in a little package that said basically, congratulations, you've got one of 10,000 gold chrome C3POs. Well, in addition to that, they did 5 solid gold C3POs. And if you have one of these 5 solid gold C3POs, again, I don't have a good price on it. If you look online, people will tell you, oh, it's upwards of like $200,000. Like, I don't actually know, right? But a good value on that, you can guess it's, again, going to be over $10,000. But unless you're stinking rich, filthy wealthy, right? Like, you're not going to get your hands on those. So what is something you could possibly get your hands on? Well, I will tell you what everybody wanted to get their hands on. I remember this was back in 2013. As I said before, they do minifig series. And for Series 10, they're never going to do this again because Series 10 kind of screwed it up. They released Mr. Gold. And if you don't know anything about Mr. Gold, basically you had your blind bags, right? And in these blind bags, they put 5,000 Mr. Golds randomly in blind bags and distributed them throughout the world. And if you got one, it came with a certificate. You could actually register your Mr. Gold and show it off to the world. Estimates have this around $2,000 to upwards of $4,000 in value. The hard part about Mr. Gold, though, is there are a ton of knockoffs because not every Mr. Gold got registered. We don't know to this day if they've all been found. So there are 5,000 of them that were produced. We don't know how many actually out there in the wild. We only know the ones that were registered. So 5,000 of them went out. And so, again, from what is registered, from what do you see, these do occasionally come up for sale. You're going to have to pay a pretty penny. You're probably going to have to pay at least a couple $1,000s for these. But this was like one of the first times, people actively hunted for minifigs. It created a lot of fervor among the community, and honestly, there was a bit of blowback to it. And so I don't think they'll ever do something like that again. But that was Mr. Gold. That was pretty cool. Another interesting one was, let's see here, mass release sets. So there are 2 minifigs that always come to mind when people talk about Holy Grail for minifigs in regular sets. One is really old and really well known, and one is actually pretty new and pretty lesser known. So here you go. The old one, let's see if you can guess it. It's a name I've said many times already. Your friend, your Star Wars bounty hunter, Boba Fett. This was in a set in 2003 in set 10123 Cloud City. This set, honestly, I don't think it's that impressive of a set, but it's basically grown to mythical status because it was so hard to find. It was on shelves. Like, you could go buy it at the Lego store. This is like really, you weren't even having to hunt for this. If you just were lucky enough to go buy a Cloud City in 03, if it were still in box today, that Boba Fett would go for about $1,500. That's crazy. So 22 years old, right? That is a $1,500 minifig. Boba Fett always goes for a lot of money. People love their Mandalorians, right? And in addition to that, like they say, they love their Star Wars. They want complete sets. They want every character in Star Wars. So when you see like a UCS set go out, people highly, highly judge the minifig collections in the UCS set. And if there's not at least 1, 2, 3, or very unique minifigs that go with that VIP set, that UCS set, people are usually pretty upset with it because they're like, if I'm going to spend $200, $300, $500, $1,000 for a minifig set, for a Lego set, there had better be an ultra exclusive minifig. So that was always interesting. And Star Wars is usually the biggest culprit with this. And in fact, there's one other mass release set I do want to talk about. It was the Resistance Bomber set, came out in 2018. It's set 75188. You can go online and you can buy this set for a couple $100. No big deal. However, what you may not know is there's two versions of this set. There is the regular set that everybody knows, and then there's the Finch Dallow set. And so what happened is, back in 2018, when they were releasing the new Star Wars movies, they released this Resistance Bomber. And on that set, there were I want to say 5 or 6 minifigs, and they had generic fighter pilots, right? But as the movie came out, they actually, I believe it happened in just North America, they replaced that generic fighter pilot, who was basically, it's a white fighter pilot, and they replaced it with a more, closely resembling character to Kevin Lane. He is the guy who plays Finch Dallow. Finch Dallow is black. And so now you have this Finch Dallow character in there. And people went bonkers for it because there are just not that many out there. And they weren't even released all over the world. I think it was just released in North America. And here's the thing. If you want that version of the Resistance Bomber, you're going to pay upwards of $1,500 for that set, maybe more. And if you just want the Finch Dallow minifig, it's going to cost you at least $750. And that's a set that's only, 6-7 years old. So there is a recent one for you as well. Other ones, San Diego Comic-Con always does this. I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, but I'll never have everything from Stranger Things because San Diego Comic-Con decided to release a Barb character from Stranger Things. It's the only time ever we've gotten a Barb minifig. That goes for $600. So I'll never own that. I would love to, but I will never own it. However, of what I do own, I have a lot of minifigs. In fact, I actually didn't look at it the other day. I should have. I want to say I own a little over 1,000 minifigs. Of my personal collection, my rarest minifig that I own is the black VIP minifig. This came when you bought the new UCS Millennium Falcon back in, 2017 or 2018. That minifig came in a poly bag. It was your little gift with purchase, which with this set, it came with the, you get your black VIP card, which we don't talk about because it's annoying, but it also came with that poly bag. And it's a black VIP minifig, and he's got a little stand next to him that you build the stand and you put your card in that stand. Well, that minifig goes for $250 now. So that's probably my rarest one in the collection. Of regular minifigs that actually came, because I have a TC-14 droid too that came out as a poly bag back when the 2010 or 2012 R2-D2, the May the 4th released. That TC-14 droid, that's another $100 minifig. Those are special gift with purchases. My minifig that I own that came with a set that is probably the most valuable would be this one right in front of me, this version of the Boba Fett. This one came with, if you're watching on YouTube, the Boba Fett that came with the UCS Slave 1 back in 2015 maybe. That guy right there, he goes for about $110. And so as far as mass-produced sets go, that's my rarest minifig. And in fact, if you are tuning in on YouTube, you can see I have a big sign that says the Imagination Brick Shop, and I got a whole bunch of minifigs on it because it's so cool looking, right? I actually took a little time and added it up. It's about $400 worth of minifigs standing right there, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. You don't think about it like that because, well, I'm not looking to sell them. And granted, Boba Fett is a quarter of all of this, but it's just kind of interesting to look at. But there you go. It's just so much to talk about, right? I think it's interesting. We'll see what Lego does here in 2025. I don't see them letting off the gas when it comes to the minifig. Because not only are we just talking, I just talked characters. I didn't even get into things like the Lego movie, all of the games that go with it, because it's like you play a Lego Star Wars game, you're not just building a house, you're not just flying a ship, your characters are minifigs. Like, you are a minifig. When you get your Lego encyclopedias, you get it because it's got an exclusive minifig. When you basically do most things with Legos now, like, you expect a minifig to go with it because it's like the cherry on top. You build a great set, it's amazing, and then when the set is over, you open it up and you look and you got a little minifig to go with it. Does it get any better than that? And so it's got a great history. Like I say, I'm going to call it 50 years, even though 75 to 78, they were kind of prototype minifigs. But yeah, 50 years with an asterisk. It'll be cool to see what Lego does in 3 more years at the official 50-year mark. But I digress. Anyway, you tell me, do you have a love for minifigs like I do? Do you have a big minifig? Are you a minifig hunter? Like, I'm a set hunter, right? I go after themes. I go after certain sets, certain styles. The minifigs just come with it. But do you just hunt minifigs? What is your favorite minifig? What is your most valuable minifig? Let me know. Leave me a comment down below. Or was there something I didn't talk about when it concerns minifigs that you'd like to know more about? I will tell you, if you leave me a comment, I'll answer your questions, no problem. I absolutely answer everything on YouTube. It is a little harder on the podcast platforms because not all of them let you do the level of engagement that you may want to do. If you can engage, though, please engage. Anytime you engage with me, it tells the algorithm you're enjoying my content, and I just enjoy you and appreciate you when you can do that. So anyway, having said that, long episode, I'm going to call it here. And again, I am not posting on Fridays anymore, so you can expect me back next Monday to hit some updated news and rumors. And then the following Wednesday, I'll probably do a set review for that. So again, two times a week now. But until then, again, I just appreciate you for all that you do. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and I will catch you on the next one.